Matthew chapter 15. Leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him, crying out, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is demon-possessed and suffering terribly." Jesus did not answer a word. So his disciples came to him and urged him, "Send her away, for she keeps crying out after us." He answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel." The woman came and knelt before him. "Lord, help me," she said. He replied, "It is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs." "Yes, it is, Lord," she said. "Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus said to her, "Woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted." And her daughter was healed at that moment.
John Jacob Astor IV was a 47-year-old American businessman. One day he hugged his sobbing wife and then pushed her away, and without a word walked off to have a cigarette with his best friend. And his life was changed. Ellen Nellie Hocking was a 20-year-old English girl who worked with her two brothers in her mother's hostel. One day she illegally climbed up a rope ladder and through a window, and her life was changed. Daniel Buckley was a 21-year-old farm labourer from Ireland. One day he broke down a door so he could punch a man and then ran and hid, disguising himself as a woman, and his life was changed. Most know the story of the RMS Titanic, a British passenger liner that hit an iceberg in the North Atlantic Ocean in the late hours of Sunday, April 14, 1912. However, what we might not know is the people. When the people boarded the Titanic, they were classified in different ways. First class, like John Astor. Second class, like Nellie Hocking. Third class, like Daniel Buckley. Go read their stories. The treatment that these people received was extremely different depending on the sort of classification that they boarded with. Even the way that they looked on each other was mainly based on these classifications. Then something happened. The Titanic sank. Just like that, the classifications that they boarded with, that defined these people's existence on board this ship, totally lost their meaning. Suddenly, these classes were replaced with only two classifications: saved or lost. All of a sudden, these new classifications were the only ones that mattered. Sure, many people tried to use their class to change this, but in the end, these two classifications were all that mattered to anyone: saved or lost. It is with this idea of classes that the story of Jesus continues in Matthew 15:21. Jesus, in the region of Tyre and Sidon, is approached by a Canaanite woman from that vicinity. The Bible has a lot to say about the Canaanite people. None of it is good. Deuteronomy 7, verse 1. When the Lord your God brings you into the land you are entering to possess, and drives out before you many nations, the Hittites, Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, 7 nations larger and stronger than you. And when the Lord your God has delivered them over to you and you have defeated them, you must destroy them totally. Make no treaty with them and show them no mercy. 7 nations, collectively known as the Canaanite people, the scattered descendants of the prophetically cursed grandson of Noah, Canaan. Read this in Genesis chapter 10. They weren't second class or third class. They were no class of people, only good for removal from society. Deuteronomy 20 has why. Do not leave alive anything that breathes. Completely destroy them. Otherwise they will teach you to follow all the detestable things they do in worshipping their gods, and you will sin against the Lord your God. By Jesus' day, the extermination of the Canaanite people was a distant memory. But the class of people that the Canaanites were remained. The Jewish law that allowed violence to keep evil from happening was not appropriate anymore. So a Jew, when confronted with a Canaanite person, would do 2 things. Firstly, ignore that person. Then give them the opportunity to leave or go themselves if they did not leave. To our modern minds, the Canaanite woman confronting Jesus was a perfect opportunity for the cross-cultural gospel work of God. She tells Jesus, "My daughter is demon-possessed and suffering terribly." Who could refuse this request? The distraught mother speaks to Jesus with a title that shows respect, awareness of his Jewish heritage, and trust in his power. "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me." And Jesus' response is silence. Jesus' culture has classed her as Canaanite. The disciples get this. They ask Jesus to send the woman away. But he will not even bother telling a Canaanite to get lost. He simply states his mind to his disciples, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel." She is not in our class. Then something happened. In terms of events in the Bible, we do not even rate this as big, yet it could be bigger than the Titanic. The woman ignores her class completely. She came and knelt before him. "Lord, help me," she said. Then another statement from Jesus that offends our inclusive minds. This time he speaks to her directly. "It is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs." Then the ship hits the iceberg. She disagrees with Jesus. "Yes, it is, Lord," she said. "Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." It was not that she disagreed that caused the impact. It was what she said. She was not a Jew. She was a Canaanite. She was not even a class of person in Jesus' culture, and she disagreed with him. She knew him as Lord, Son of David. She knew that when the ship hits the iceberg, everything changes. She told Jesus that there were only 2 classes of people that mattered: saved or lost. Jesus' harsh reply to the woman invited her to show her faith. However, why was Jesus so harsh? If a Christian leader were to speak these words today, we would recommend that they do remedial work in apologetics and pastoral care, and we might begin to question their fitness for ministry. What then do we make of Jesus' reply to the Canaanite woman? Are we reading offence into what was back then a normal, non-offensive thing to say? Or was Jesus' language revealing his true sexism and racism? I think neither of these. Difficult words from Jesus did not discourage her. The woman's faith in Jesus is titanic. Jesus intends his interactions with the woman to teach all who follow him what it means to have faith that overcomes all other classifications. There are only two classifications that matter: saved or lost. Jesus was harsh because reclassifying people is harsh. Was this the right way to do it? To be so cruel just to draw out her faith for us to see? It is often said, and rightly so, that Jesus is the hero of the Gospels. Yet when we first hear him in relation to the Canaanite woman, Jesus looks anything but heroic. Instead, it appears he is failing in his own mission and being very rude in the process. Was Jesus right in speaking this way to her? Yes. What he says next gives the reasons. Jesus agreed with her disagreement. He said to her, "Woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted." And her daughter was healed. She had a titanic faith. Titanic because it is big. Titanic also because it really classifies her as saved and not lost. It does not matter who she is or where she comes from. She simply begs for mercy. She knows she is lost. Her faith shows that she is aware that she is as lost as the lost sheep of Israel. She knows him as Lord, Son of David. She knew that when the ship hits the iceberg, everything changes. She knew that there were only two classes of people that mattered: saved or lost. She knew that she was lost. To prove this, she asks Jesus to heal her daughter. More than this, she knows it is Jesus' mission to save everyone who is lost. This is her faith. Jesus' harshness to the Canaanite woman invited her to demonstrate the depth of her faith. Jesus' harsh words to the woman are intended to show us the nature of persevering faith. Jesus' words practically show what it means to take up a cross and follow him. Jesus said it to his disciples in the past and will say it again. Matthew 10 and 16. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. Just like the Canaanite woman, if we are not ready to live with the offence of being called dogs, we are not yet prepared for the shame of following Jesus. If we are not ready to forget the needs that worry us so and follow Jesus no matter where, we are not disciples of Jesus. Titanic has gone down in history as the ship that was called unsinkable. Right here in Matthew, it seems that the impossible is also happening. The people of God are not the only people of God anymore. everyone is classified as either saved or lost. By demonstrating the woman's readiness to respond in true faith to the demands of discipleship, Jesus' words prepare his followers, later disciples as well as the apostles, for a worldwide mission in which faith, not culture or class, is the deciding thing. Faith in Jesus. It is important to know that the woman in this story deliberately crashes her world into Jesus. We could say her motivation was her sick daughter, but her understanding of classifications betray her true motivation. She came to Jesus because she was lost. Maybe we are happy with our life. Maybe we want to do better in our life. Maybe we want our kids to do better, so to reflect this desire in us. Maybe we have some money. Maybe we want more. Maybe we have a good social standing. Maybe we want to increase the number of friends we have. Maybe we think people like us. Maybe we want people to think better of us. We are on a ship, sailing along on the ocean. We have bought our tickets and are in our cabins. Maybe we wish we were in a better class, or maybe we are happy where we are. Then something happens. We hit an iceberg. Call this iceberg the truth of Jesus. Just like that, the classifications we boarded with that defined our existence on board the ship totally loses meaning. Suddenly these classes are replaced with only two classifications: saved or lost. When we crash into the gospel of Jesus, everything changes. Perhaps we are happily sailing along and we do not see the iceberg under the water. Perhaps we are sailing along and take risks, asking questions in life to find out the truth. We see the iceberg and go as close as we can. Perhaps we, like the Canaanite woman, deliberately steer directly into the iceberg, knowing that is exactly what we need. That is the Titanic truth. We need faith in Jesus. This is the only classification that will ever matter. Are we saved or lost?